would be your microphone.
Okay, this is my microphone. I'll hold it somewhat right here, like I'm cradling a child.
And I put my microphones for better sound too.
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
Usually Lee do this all this stuff.
Yeah.
Now he's waiting for his
Make
computer.
him to work.
Okay, I will just make sure everything's done.
Yeah.
Cool. Alright.
Hi.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hi.
I'm so happy to see you.
I'm so happy to be here. I really am.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. Honestly, it's an honor and a pleasure.
Same.
Thanks.
How was your day?
It's great. I like to say always that it's great because life is short, and so you have to spend your time being happy with every moment that you have because there's so few of them.
Right.
So that's
great.
my motto.
That's great. So, can you tell me about what's your name, where are you from, and what is this that you do?
Okay, I'm Cynthia Rose, as a lot of people know me. I wasn't always Cyn Rose. I wasn't always Cynthia Rose. I'm actually Cynthia Vargas, but I had to get this name through the years because I've been doing parties and events for a long time. More than 20 years.
Wow.
And so for a while, I was the only Cynthia around. So they could put Cynthia on the flyer, or Cynthia's hosting, or Cynthia, and it was fine. Everybody kind of knew who it was. But then other Cynthias started appearing. And so then it was like, well, what are we going to put on flyers? What do you want? And I didn't want my whole government name to be put on there, so it became Cynthia Rose. Rose is my middle name.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's a cute story.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it happened. It's all thanks to Voodoo Ray, honestly. Because for many years, I was doing parties with him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me more about Voodoo Ray.
Okay, let me show you the button first.
Yay.
There's the button. There's the Voodoo Ray. Voodoo Ray, Raymond Udarte. He's my brother from another mother, and my partner for many years in business, and one of my closest friends. And the life of the party, and the mayor of New York City nightlife, if you ask me.
Yes.
Unofficial.
Okay.
He knew everybody,
Mm-hmm.
Dancers, musicians, artists, actors, politicians, all kinds of people from all walks of life, all around New York City, and brought some of the dopest parties and events to New York City for many years.
Wow, that's dope.
So, yeah.
How did you meet?
I met him in the club. I met him when I was a teenager. I probably was 16 or 17 years old. In the club, in the nightclub. I want to say I met him at Kilimanjaro or something like that, which was and Kilimanjaro is known best, probably, or is famous for parties during that era, the late 80s and early 90s. But Ejo had a very famous dance battle there, and there's a lot of things. We were all teenagers growing up, going to these clubs together. So
That's great.
yeah.
What was your first impression when you was in the club?
I got clubs started for me because I was young. I was younger than most of the people that I was younger than Ray, I'm younger than Link, I'm younger than Khalif, all of them, Marjorie, all of them were older than me. But my sister was someone that went to the garage, my older sister, and she came home with this tape that had all of these songs on it, and I was always this kid that would dance around the house and be so dramatic, but but dancing all over the house. And then I went to my first club at 13 years old,
Wow.
which was the Underground in Union Square. My sister took me, and I was always tall, and I knew how to act. So at that time, there wasn't like you had to have an ID necessarily to go into a club. At that time, you could go in if you looked the part, if you knew how to act, if you know those kinds of things. And so that's the first time. And then I didn't go to a club for a long time. And then when I was like 15 or yeah, like 15, I was in high school, and I would sneak out and go spend the night at my friend's house, and her mother was cool, and she'd be like, let's go. And we would wind up at like the Fun House or Heartthrobs or like all of these old school clubs. And that's where I first heard like Louis Vega and Jelly Bean and all of these guys. And, of course, like, Junior Vasquez was one of the people that, like, turned me out in the club because I started going to, okay, so then fast forward to, like, 16 or 17 years old. I was in high school, but I wanted to go out dancing, and so I used to go, and my father would like allow me to go at that time if he knew that like the fellas Link and Khalid, and then because we all grew up in the same neighborhood, he'd be like, okay, so who are you going with? Are they going? Are they gonna be there to ride the train home with you? And as long as I was like, yeah, he was like, okay, you can go, because he knew we were just innocent and really just trying to dance. It wasn't about like much of anything else. Yes, I was drinking 40s of beer, but like but it wasn't what it was about. It was really about dancing. And so so that's kind of the start of the journey of being in nightlife, because at that part in my life, there was a part like 16, 17, where I was going out almost every night of the week, and going out to dance and staying out until like 6 and 7 in the morning sometimes, And I tell people this story, right? When I was going to graduate high school, in order for me to graduate high school, I needed to go to summer school for 2 gym classes, because during high school I had moved from here to Texas and moved back, and in the process I wound up missing 2 gym classes in order to graduate. So at that time I was like really going to clubs a lot, right?
Yes.
And so I told my teacher, I'll never forget, his name was Mr. Buck Alter, and the teacher for summer school, and he had 2 gym classes, and this is what I needed to graduate. So I was like, okay, listen, I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna be on time, but I'm coming straight from the club. Like, I'm gonna go home from the club, shower, change, and come to school. I'll be here on time. I just need to graduate. Can I please sleep on the bleachers the first class because I'm tired? And then after that, I'll participate in the second class, and you pass me for both so I can graduate. Yeah. And he allowed me to do that. He let me. He was like, I guess he was like, this girl is like being honest with me about what she's doing. She's gonna be responsible. It's 2 freaking gym classes, and she's gonna graduate. Yeah. Let her live. And he did. I'm like, I'll never forget that. Yeah, so I was able to go to the club, go to school, finish, do what I had to do, and then I would go home from there, sleep for a couple of hours, go to work for a couple of hours, and then go back to the club the next night.
Okay.
Yeah. This was my life.
That's dope. Like, this is the young life, nightlife in New York.
It's a young life. I don't think that the youth of today have it like this, because, now clubs are very strictly enforced that they're like 21 and over. At that time, there were a lot of parties that were like 18 and over. And nightlife has become a little bit different also, with the inception of like bottle service and different things that venues need to do in order to stay open and to make money and to keep their liquor license and all of that stuff. So it wasn't the case back then.
And how did you come up with the idea to make a party?
Well, it kind of, honestly, I didn't necessarily come up with the idea to make a party. I started working in parties because of Voodoo Ray. Like, he, we were friends and he was already doing parties. So he was like, yo, I need you to come do the door. I need you to come help me out. Or who do you think I should book?
Yeah.
And we just built this relationship where I was very lucky to be able to be one of those people that he like would call to ask their opinion about like, yo, so who do you think? What do you think we should do? What about this spot? How do you feel about it? You know, how do you like this person and how do they play? You know, stuff like that. How many people do you think showed up for the last party they did? And how many people did they bring? Like, you know, because being at the door puts you in a unique position to be able to know like what's happening in the party. And so, yeah, I feel very lucky that he trusted me with my opinions because I have a lot of opinions.
That's great. Can you explain how would you go about selecting people to book, selecting lineups?
Yeah. So, firstly, the one of the main things is obviously like I want to know that you're playing music that I like. So I have to know that you have a certain skill set, you know. Another factor for me personally is your attitude. You know, a lot of DJs and artists are a little socially awkward, and I get that, you know, because they're true artists, so they don't necessarily like have the ability to be like social beings. They're focused on their art, right? So I get that, but if you're like too difficult, you make things too difficult, and some people do that.
Right.
It's like, you know, there's so many people out there. Am I going to choose the person that makes things more difficult or the person that makes things easy?
Right.
You know. So there's that, you know.
Okay.
And then another factor also is how many people will come for you, you know, because we already have a crowd. Like, I already have a crowd. I have my friends, I have my extended family that are going to come and support me, even if I have the wackest DJ, right? But if you're going to bring, like, which I try not to have the wackest DJ, but even if you have the wackest person, right? They're going to come just to come hang out with me, which I'm so lucky to have that, right? But if you're bringing more to the table, that's special to me, right? Because then now we all get to work together. Like, I try to build my entire life off of like working with people and trying to bring more people to work together, you know? Which is why this is so dope for me, you know? Because it means to me that I have an opportunity here to meet some people that maybe I didn't get a chance to meet. And that's really special to me.
It's like urban networking.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and it's important for us to do that because, you know, like I think that like part of what's missing in some of nightlife now, right now, it has to do with not enough diversity, right? I think that we need to be playing all kinds of music. We need to have all kinds of people, not just dancers, but the tourists and the trannies and the freaking cool kids and the fashionistas and the elites all together, right? And there's enough for everybody. All we have to do is work together and we can have it, you know? But it's really important because that's how you pass on the feeling, you know? Somebody who's never experienced it can't tell you what this feels like, right? Only somebody who has can be like, yo, this is what it's supposed to feel like. No, get your ass off the dance floor with that phone. Move out of the way. Can't you see they're getting busy? Like, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, and you don't learn that in a class, in a studio. You learn that do social interactions,
Right.
you know? So,
Exactly.
yeah, so that's why it's important, you know? Like for many years, I feel lucky because, you know, we've been able to do parties with all of these dancers from around the world, right? And they've come here to New York, and every single time they leave with more than they came with, you know? And the reason why is because they're learning that social stuff, right? It's not because of them going to the studio. They learn stuff in the studio at home. They learn stuff in the studio anywhere, you know, you could, and that is important.
Yes.
Because you got to get a foundation. However,
Right.
there's also a foundation in the social interaction,
Right.
and there's also a foundation in the feeling, and you only get that in the club. You know, you only get that there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's dope. I must ask about the pandemic situation.
Yeah.
How was that? Like,
It's been really
definitely
tough.
the club wasn't working.
No, you know okay. So when the pandemic first hit, I've been doing the Funk Box Party for well, the Funk Box Party is 13 years old. I've been a part of it for I want to say 11 and a half years because I was living in Florida and I came back to New York, and then as soon as I came back, they were like, "Yeah, you need to be with us," and I was like, "Okay." And but so the Funk Box Party is a weekly party.
Yeah.
It would happen every Sunday. And we had a party scheduled actually for right when the pandemic hit. We had a party scheduled here in New York, and then we also had a party scheduled in Orlando on what was March 14th was supposed to be Orlando, and then March 16th was supposed to be Miami for Winter Music Conference. Now, we were like, okay, they canceled Orlando first, actually. And so at the point that they canceled Orlando and all of this stuff started happening, Tony called me. He's like, "Sim, what do you think?" And I'm like, "Yo, fuck that. Funkbox doesn't stop. Let's just go," you know? Like, and then I was like, "No, but we got to be responsible and like let's see what does the club say, you know?" And so then before that party, the club was like, "Okay, no, we can't," because the city basically shut down. At that point, Orlando was canceled, and also Miami was canceled. I wound up still going to Miami and staying in Miami with my daughter for like 2 months during the beginning of the pandemic because poolside is nicer than a 4-story walk-up.
Anyway.
Just plain and simple. Like, I love my home, but I'd rather be by the palm trees than stuck in my apartment. You know? So that transition was, you know, strange. And then it was like, okay, what do we do? You know? And immediately we were like, well, we've got to do something online. Like, we just got to do something online, like, you know? And at first it was, let's just do Instagram. You know, let's just do Instagram because that's where everybody is, and it's easy for us to reach our people because we're already reaching them there. You know, and so that's what we did in the beginning. And then I also work with Rich Medina, and Rich Medina started doing Twitch, which he was one of the first DJs to start doing in our genre, in our community, that started doing Twitch as a place for music. And Tony actually, during the first week, like, we decided, okay, now we're going to do Zoom as well as Instagram because we want to actually see our community, right? We want to be able to interact with them in a visual way, not just like some mysterious cyber interaction, you know? So we started doing, Tony and I, for Funkbox, we started doing Twitch. We started doing Instagram and Zoom. And then Rich, we started doing Twitch and Zoom also because there was an element of visual, which Rich has always done a lot of visual things, like the Jumpin' Funk Party. There was always a very visual component to that party. And so it was very easy for that transition to happen between being able to do Twitch and Zoom. And it was, he specifically designed it that way. Like, I want to be able to do it in this kind of way. Rich is very particular in the way that he presents. And it's one of the things that I admire about him, because he makes sure that, like, if I'm going to put it out there, it's going to be fucking right, you know? So, then once I was doing that with Rich, I'm like, Tony, yo, we need to do Twitch, yo. Like, yo, you can make, actually, you're not going to make a lot of money, but at least people can donate to you. Like, you're doing all this shit for free. Like, I'm concerned about, like, how you're going to sustain that. Like, Tony does a lot for a lot of people, I was always just like, yo, you got to be able to monetize this a little bit better. Like, you got to be able to do something better. And so he started doing Twitch, which was great, and we're still doing Twitch. Like, so now currently we're doing Funkbox monthly in person.
Yeah.
Because the weather and the pandemic and people's budgets, to be just quite honest, it's like, people can't afford to be going out like that, like, and I understand, and so we're doing monthly
in
person, and every week, even when we're on for the month live, we're still doing Twitch and Zoom. So that's great, like, because we're able to connect to a whole new audience that we weren't able to necessarily reach, which, when that change happened, it's one of the things that we all discussed, like, yo, this is something that we're never going to stop now. Now that we're online, we have to continue, because there's people in Croatia, there's people in London, there's people in Cali and DC, and not just here in New York, that want to be a part of our community, that are joining us every week and supporting us and showing love, and they love this just like we love it. And so we have to, like, nurture that,
How would you use new technology to draw more people to the club?
In reality, I think that there's a lot of space for growth, and I think that I'm not even doing the best job at it currently. Like, I think that there's a lot more that I could be doing to make it more dynamic for people that are elsewhere, but also to, like, I think that what could happen, right? Technology is a beautiful thing, right? So my vision would be that we do a party here, and then we do it somewhere else, and then we do it somewhere else, and all of these people that are part of this community now are now joining us in this space, right? Virtually and also in person. That would be the dream, that we could reach all of these people around the world and have that. And I think it's possible, but again, I'm not the most technically savvy person, so I moderate the Zoom room and stuff like that for Funkbox.
Right.
But at first I was doing the Zoom room and the Twitch, and I was like, yo, I can't do all of this shit, yo. I can't. I was like, I'm gonna stay right here in the Zoom room. I'll check in on the Twitch. I'll put some emotes up. I'll put some emojis. I may post a link. But managing two conversations, also managing, like, switching of screens and making sure people are highlighted and people are active and dancing, it's a lot for one person.
Right.
You have to have a team of folks. Or some software that allows you to manage all of it, that is, like, super easy to use, but DJs nowadays, they definitely, like, need a team behind them in order to be able to accomplish these online streams. They can do it alone, but it's not as dynamic. It's not as and I find that people go for engagement. They want to be engaged. They want you to talk to them. They want to know that you see them there. And it's very important to do that. You got to acknowledge folks, right? So sometimes it becomes a little difficult in the online world to manage all of the, like, especially if you're doing it live, right? How the hell am I going to be in the party hosting, talking to people,
Yeah, managing.
and on Twitch and on Zoom and managing the conversations there, and it's just too much for one person. Yeah. But we're very lucky. We've built like a super lovely online community. Zoom fam is super strong, uh, and they're so supportive. It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
It really is amazing to me. Like I could cry. It's so amazingly awesome. Yo, for real. I get sentimental. I do.
Now, what does term clubhead means?
I'm a clubhead.
Yep. That's why I asked.
All right, the term clubhead to me is like a person whose existence would not be the same without the club experience, right? So a person whose lifestyle has to, like, no matter what, right? I always need to have some club experience in my life.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's a part of who I am.
Yeah.
Like a really big part of who I am. So, that's how I pulled this whole career off of nothing. Like, off of nothing.
Yeah.
It's just going out and dancing, and now all of a sudden, like, I'm lucky enough to say that I've worked with some of the biggest names out there. That's amazing. And it's just, it's a clubhead is a person who needs the club, who needs it. The club needs us, but a clubhead needs the club.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What is your worst experience in a club?
I've had a lot of experiences. I would say the worst experience that I've ever had was actually recent. And it was a club, which I won't mention the name of the club, but the club had us booked for a party, and then they double booked us. So when it came time for our staff and our DJs and our people to start to be able to come in there, this was during COVID, they just made it an unsafe place they like overpacked the place because they were being greedy, and then they overpacked the place and then couldn't even serve the people that they had in there. I was so pissed off. Oh my God. I think about it like now, and I still feel angry about it, right? It was like, the place double booked, so instead of it just being our party, they had a second party in there.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't serve our guests. We didn't give the experience to our guests. Like, for me, right, the club experience has to do with the experience.